Dobar dan. That means good day. This is TalkCast PDX. Find us on the web, talkcastpdx.com. It's Tuesday, July 13th. July 13th is 713, two prime numbers, not associated with a convenience store, which would have been the day before yesterday, 7-11, but today is 713. This is the Bogdanich Perspective. I'm your host, Paul Bogdanich. Welcome. Title of today's show is Falsifiable. I was looking through the news for content, and in reading a bunch of stuff, you can't, I want to talk about falsifiability or something that's falsifiable. The best example, or a very good example, certainly, for something that is not falsifiable, is what they call last Thursdayism, which is the position that the world was created last Thursday. There's no way to prove that it's false. You can say, what about dinosaur bones? Well, they were just put there as part of the creation. What about, radioactive elements that decay in a predictable fashion over time? Well, they were just put there to create the illusion of time and so on. And there's no way that you can prove that it's wrong. So it falls within the realm of philosophy, as opposed to in the realm of scientific inquiry or scientific fact. And you can, for something to be scientific fact, you can design an experiment. If you think about it, is this falsifiable? Can I prove this false? And you can design an experiment to tell you whether it's true or false. And in reading the news, everything is just anymore is, or everything that I read was very subjective. I found an example. There was a aggregation site, and it's all about this vaccine hesitancy, and who's responsible for the vaccine hesitancy and all the rest of that stuff. And one person wrote this article, and they quoted a bunch of headlines from the major newspapers. And headline: the GOP's very stubborn vaccine skepticism. Headline: a third of white conservatives refuse to get vaccinated. Headline: as Biden confronts vaccine hesitancy, Republicans are a particular challenge. Headline: many Republican men are hesitant to get coronavirus vaccine. So they cited their sources for all this. So I went and looked at who this was. It's a government contract as part of, I don't know if you watch sports. I was watching a baseball game the other day, and they have all these vaccine commercials. I don't know if you've seen them. Watching NBA, or I saw them, watching professional sports. But there's a whole advertising effort behind it, and the shop that's doing the statistics is and the market research, I suppose you could say, is operating under a very expensive government contract. They actually do a pretty good job. They sample on the order of 40,000 people a week. Last week, they sampled 37,300. And the top headline on their website was top line tracking, : overall, 59% of Americans said that they had received at least one shot. That's interesting. All right. And they also claim a 1% error rate. So I looked at that, went to the CDC website, and when you get a vaccine, you have to present your ID, and they keep track of who's got them, who's doesn't, and so on. And they're pretty authoritative. And as of Monday, which was day before yesterday, 334.2 million doses, which is 101% of the population, to 184.1 million people, which is about 55% of the population, and 159.3 million fully vaccinated, which is about 48% of the population. So when they say overall 50% of Americans said that they had received at least one shot, that tells me right there that instead of being a 1% error, their sample of people at least contains a 4% error. But, probably good data nonetheless. Looking at the death rates from coronavirus are down to about 300 a day, 310 a day. Good headline. 300 people a day are being killed from coronavirus, which is interesting. But in a nation of 332 million, stroke kills 436 people a day. unintentional injury, lawnmower accidents, motorcycle accidents, etc., kill 527 people a day. Cancer kills 1,641 people a day, and heart disease kills 1,893 people a day. And while all these deaths are important, and some of them are probably preventable, it's at least the fourth lowest cause. But anyway, back to this website. They wouldn't allow me to pull down the tabular data. You have to pay. All right, you have to become a subscriber, and I didn't want to become a subscriber. But I printed a bunch of stuff that they had on their webpage, and it's interesting. So I was gonna go through it. The whole thing is age correlated. People over 65, 83% vaccination rate. Only 10% of people over 65 say that they won't get the thing under any circumstances. On the flip side of the coin, people under 40 years old only have about a 40% vaccination rate, and a full 30% of them say, nope, not taking it. If you break that down into race, it's pretty even. With the notable exception that African Americans are much more lower vaccination rates with higher, I'm not going to take it, numbers than the other elements of the population. The education and income gradients are just by education and income, and no difference, no substantial difference in between male and female. They looked at the states, and the list that they published was a good headline, but it's insignificant. Highest rates of vaccine unwillingness, right? And these are the states: Mississippi, Idaho, South Dakota, Louisiana, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Alabama, West Virginia, Arkansas, and Tennessee. And none of those states make any difference. The largest one probably has a population of 4 or 5 million people. So you can't get to a nationwide number of 20% and even worry about those states. Lowest rate of vaccine hesitancy: Delaware, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, District of Columbia, Maryland, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Hawaii, and Maine. Please notice that California, Texas, Pennsylvania, Florida are nowhere on that list, either in the high or the low. So the majority of the nation is somewhere in the middle. If you look at this, they broke down, they took a statistic, and this is their job. All right, this is the job part of it for them. They're trying to get people convinced to go from the uncertain or hesitant category to the vaccinated category. So this is the meat of their report as far as they're concerned. This is what they're getting paid to do. And they broke that down, and it's just a graph. Like I said, they wouldn't let me have the numbers, but on the graph, they have uncertain, or their goal is to try and convince the people that are quote unquote uncertain. They're not after the people that say I'm not getting it under any circumstances, right? So they're trying to convince the uncertains. And they broke that down by age. And they've, in the 18 to 34-year-old category, they have dropped the uncertainty rate from 53% to 43%. And the number of those that are unwilling has stayed relatively constant, which means that most of those people ended up getting vaccinated. 35 to 54 dropped it from 44 to 37. 45 to 64 dropped it from 36 to 28. And in 65 over, it didn't matter. 16% to 15%. Here they go by the political affiliation, and this is a little bit interesting. So among Democrats, they have dropped the uncertain category from 25% to 17%, and the unwilling numbers have gone down at the same time. So that means that everybody in that category that they convinced to change their mind probably ended up getting vaccinated, or at least told them that they would get vaccinated. Republicans and independents, we have an interesting situation. In Republicans and independents, for Republicans, they dropped the uncertain rate from 47 to 40%. And independents, they dropped it from 42 to 35%. But in both those cases, the people who were formerly uncertain, who are now certain, a large proportion of them say, no, I'm not taking it. So that's a clear distinction by political affiliation, which is interesting. If you break it down by race, They're making good progress amongst African Americans, Hispanic, and other. 50 for African Americans, 51% down to 40, with most being vaccinated. From Hispanic, from 42 to 30, with most being vaccinated. Others from 35 to 25, with most being vaccinated. For Caucasian peoples, 35 to 30%, with a slight uptick in people that aren't doing it. So steady rates. The other statistics, there's really no difference. Yeah, they survey the people that say that they are not planning on getting vaccinated, and then they do a time series. What were their opinions 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago? No change in any demographic. Doesn't matter. Age, political affiliation, race, they're all the same. The people that are not taking the vaccine are rather, it's a hard opinion, shall we say. The main reasons that people give for not taking it: concerned about side effects, number one. It's about a little over a third, 35%. Worried that the vaccines move through clinical trials too fast. In other words, not enough information. That's a full third. So that's 2/3 of them right there. And then the others don't trust the companies making the vaccines and other reasons. Amongst people who want to be vaccinated. All right, it's you have a interesting statistic. All right, these are people who want to be vaccinated. Age, as you would expect, it just goes by age. If you want to get vaccinated and you're over 65, their numbers are 98%. If you're in between 45 and 64, 90%. And then it comes down, and for 18 to 34-year-olds, they're too busy riding skateboards, going to the beach or whatever, so you're down to 70%. But by party affiliation, if you want to get vaccinated and you're a Republican, you have a 90% chance that you did it. If you're independent, you have only an 80% chance that you did it, and Democrats are in the middle at 85, which is interesting. There's no substantial difference in race, education, gender, or income. A bunch of others, they tried to do things, because these are advertising guys, right? So they tried to tie it to media sources. Virtually no difference. Everybody's hovering right around 55%. CBS is the highest at 58%. The people that watch CBS are much more likely to be vaccinated, and much fewer of them. But the numbers are small. I mean, CBS's numbers is 58% and 13%. New York Times is 51%. And 12%, so only 12% of New York Times readers say they won't get vaccinated. The highest number is Fox in here, but they're only 48 and 17, which is 2% below the New York Times. They did have an interesting statistic over here by occupation, right? All right, so they list technology, financial services, healthcare, insurance. And insurance and healthcare are way up above everybody else, above 60%. And I don't know about insurance, but in healthcare, I would suspect the reason for that is that the employers are making them become vaccinated. Technology and financial services are outliers. All right. In all these other categories, and there's a dozen of them, maybe 15, the distributions are relatively even, not that much in between the hard-nosed, unwilling, undecideds, want to but haven't, and then people that get vaccinated. In technology and financial services, there's huge excess numbers in people that claim to the pollsters that they want to get vaccinated but haven't done it yet. And then the people that say that they won't get vaccinated are way down. And to me, that's peer pressure or employer pressure. They're basically lying because they don't want to be, they don't want to cause themselves political problems at work. But their personal opinions differ from from the ethic of their peers and so on. But that shows up. And I was looking at it, and how does that correlate? Back to the headlines we read. Oh, I did. Did I mention that Republican women That's the most interesting statistic in here. But the ones who will not get the vaccine, Democratic men, 71% are vaccinated, 14% plan to get vaccinated, 8% are uncertain, and 8% are unwilling. Democratic women, 73% are vaccinated, 9% plan to get vaccinated, 8% are uncertain, and 9% are unwilling. Republican men, 60% have been vaccinated, 8% plan to get vaccinated, uncertain is 10%, and unwilling is 23%. Republican women, 49% have been vaccinated, 5% plan to get vaccinated, 13% are unwilling, and a full third, over 33%, are unwilling. So let's read those headlines again, shall we? Headline: The GOP's very stubborn vaccine skepticism. I suppose it's Republican women, so, A third of white conservatives refuse to get vaccinated. Probably true. Again, Republican women. As Biden confronts vaccine hesitancy, Republicans are a particular challenge. Probably true. Many Republican men are hesitant to get coronavirus vaccine. What's many? By statistically speaking, no. But, in an absolute sense, whatever it was, if you're a Republican man, 8% are unwilling. 23% are unwilling. So many, 20, probably. So they're mildly true, but they convey an incorrect impression. I found it funny, so I mentioned it. Anyway, on to the markets. Same thing. Just all the press. I went through the numbers again. I went through on this prior study. It came to me as a statistician. I'm sorry, I forgot. I do this kind of stuff all day long. I read statistics and reports and all the rest of this. And I thought that if they wanted to develop some really meaningful information on this study, that they needed to include one more question. And they're not going to, because they're not paid to do that. What they're paid to do is change people's mind. It's part of an advertising effort. But if they were an academic concern and wanted to actually develop information, I would add the following question. So pretend we're on the phone and I'm the interviewer. On a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 means almost never, 2 means occasionally, 3 means some of the time, 4 means most of the time, and 5 means almost always, do you believe what the government tells you? I think that you would have a very close correlation between those two numbers, but of course it's not, maybe they ask it, but they'll never release it if they do. Anyway, back to the financial markets. So I've been looking at all the articles in the financial press, and it's unusual. Normally you get people positing hypotheses about why this sector is going to do better, or that sector is going to do better, or the economy is going to do this, or the labor market is going to do that. And everybody right now, all the bulge bracket firms, all the large analysts, all those guys, the only thing they're talking about is the Fed. When is the Fed going to stop injecting $180 billion a month? Right? Because that's what they see. Bank of America published a handy little timeline here. Next event is the July meeting, which happens on July 28th. They anticipate a quote-unquote signal that they're going to start thinking of tapering. In the July minutes, which come out on August 18th, they expect that in private, the minutes will disclose that they discuss tapering. The Jackson Hole Conference is set for August 26th. No expectation for that, no minutes for that. The September meeting is on September 22nd, and Bank of America thinks that they're going to announce a tapering signal on September 22nd. The minutes for that come out on October 13th, and they expect that in the minutes they'll be talking about the execution, in other words, exactly how and when. They expect the November meeting to indicate timing, and then they expect November more details on the timing, and then they expect that the Fed will start tapering after the December 15th meeting. And that's what's dominating all the market chatter. It's just it's the Fed. So if we look at it for last week here, market was up 0.4%. So on a $100,000 portfolio, $395. We're going to round that up, call it $400. We have our four portfolios. The one that is the proxy for the largest companies in the S&P 500, that one went up $890, almost triple. The one that is the same 30 companies, which is more than half the value of the S&P 500 index, but it's equal weighted instead of capitalization weighted towards the largest indices, that one only went up $87. So again, it's the largest cap companies that move the market. Where we tried to get rid of sector concentration and took the top the 11 sectors in the S&P, top 3 stocks per sector, that portfolio was up 421. And the portfolio that I put together in absolute gain, it was only up 185. I don't remember whether that includes the effect of hedges or not. I will look at that in a minute. But if you look at the stocks, top 30 cap weight, which is the one that did the best, the largest companies, two large winners, Amazon and Apple. Amazon, speaking of which, Amazon. They gave a big government contract to Microsoft, and then Defense Department announced that they were going to rescind the contract from Microsoft and throw it open to bidding. Now, when they gave the contract, Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, bought a bunch of securities on the information, made several millions of dollars. When they did this, he round-tripped the trade. He sold the Microsoft that he had acquired previously, and he bought call and put options, right, which are leverage bets that expire over time. And apparently, he has no concern with timing because he already knows the future. It's not illegal. I went over this in a prior episode. It's not illegal. It's illegal for you and me to do that. It's not illegal for him to do that. But he bet, I think he bought $4.2 million worth of calls and made $12 million. Something on that nature. There was a sign that's a blue whale or something like that went through all his trades and logged them and everything else. But it's just shocking. These guys are brazen. I hope it means, that they're considering retiring. I don't know. But I mean, it's brazen. It's, Martha Stewart goes to jail. They just pocket the money. Anyway, Amazon and Apple were up 625 and 500 respectively. Tesla was the only stock that was down in this portfolio, down 132. The top 30 equal weight. The difference there when you equal weight them, you have it, and that one only gained $85, 87, excuse me. But the difference in between there is the one where you capitalization weighted everything. You only had one loser, which was Tesla, because they're in court right now on some solar company acquisition. But in the one where you equal weighted everything, you had 3 winners and 3 losers, and they balanced each other out. The winners are the same: Amazon, Apple, and PayPal. PayPal wasn't in the other list because it's a smaller company, didn't get that much weighting. But the losers, NVIDIA finally fell. Remember, the stock has been going up 8% a week. It finally came down 2.13%. Tesla, again, on the legal proceedings, and ExxonMobil having a tough time. Price of oil's bouncing back and forth. OPEC members are arguing amongst themselves, and they were the largest loser, lost $116. In the top 3 by sector, where you have 3 sectors, 11 sectors, 3 stocks per sector. The winners, it had 3, and losers, it had 2. But this is by sector, so you have more stocks in energy and real estate, and utilities, and materials, and industrials like that. You have 3 each. But the biggest winners, Amazon, Prologis, which is a real estate concern, and Apple. So 2, 1 consumer discretionary, 1 internet technology, and then the 1 real estate concern. And 2 losers, both oil companies, Exxon, ConocoPhillips. $155 and $105 respectively, not huge, but the price of oil and the uncertainty thereof is hurting them. In the large liquid leaders, which is my discretionary portfolio, which is fully hedged, by the way, 2 winners, Apple and Costco. Costco is a smaller company, so it doesn't make it into these other lists, but they went up 3.37% for the week. 1 loser, ExxonMobil. But again, all those are hedged. If you look at it, ExxonMobil, the price of the stock fell $1.94 a share, which is, what is that to our portfolio? It is, the stock fell cost our portfolio $145, but on the hedges that we have of it, we regained 92 of that. Our next largest loser was Facebook, where our position in Facebook fell $56, but the hedges returned 31 of that. On the flip side, Apple went up $160, and our hedges cost us 110 of the 160. Costco went up $148, but our hedges cost us 95 of that position. And Honeywell went up 54, but our hedges cost us 40%. But I'm fully hedged. What are the round numbers here? Oh, fully hedged. What did we do? We made $184 gross, but the head subtraction was $100. So we were flat. We only gained $84 net on the portfolio. I have the luxury of doing this with my little personal hypothetical portfolio here. If I was an investment manager and I had people in other offices all around me, and they were not as conservative as me, they would be doing better than me. They would get promoted faster than me. And that shapes the character of the firm, that they're in. And so if you're in the business, the pressure to just ditch these hedges and, the market's going to go up is very strong. And that's what most people are doing. If we look at our list of 54 stocks, all the portfolios that we have, we track 54. 5 of them were up more than 3%. That's Apple, Abbott Labs, Adobe, American Tower, which is a real estate concern, in Amazon. Those 5 stocks were up more than 3%. And stocks that were up more than 2% but less than 3%, there's 3 of them. Stocks that are up more than 1% but less than 2%, there's 6 of them. Stocks that are up but up less than 1%, there were 19. Stocks that are down but down less than 1%, there were 12. Stocks that were down in between more than 1% but less than 2%, there were 3. Stocks that were down more than 2% but less than 3%, there were another 3, and there were 3 stocks that were down more than 3%, and those are Verizon, which was down 3.07%, Walmart, which was down 3.23%, and ExxonMobil, which was down 4.2%. And that's about it. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, please email them to me. Paul Stocks at stockbettor.com. That's Paul at stockbettor, BETTOR.com. It's Tuesday. Thanks for joining me on this Tuesday. Join me again next week. Shows the Bogdanich perspective on TalkCast PDX. Find it on YouTube or Spotify or splattered all over the web. And do Virginia. That means goodbye.